Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. So I wanted to touch base with regards to Alexis Gabe's case. Alexis, her partial remains have been located in a town called Plymouth, California. And that's actually not terribly far from my hometown where I used to live out there. And about 30 minutes away from Pioneer, California. It is in Amador County, the same county as Pioneer. And I wanted to take a look at some of the cards that had come up in her readings, at least the cards that I took still shots of, because I didn't really start saving the still shots of my readings until like later Mystery Mystic Musing readings or Mystery Mystic Monday readings. But the ones that I did save for hers, I wanted to take a look at them to look at what has come up, what's been revealed through the cards, look at the maps um, that are, at least where I think she may have been recovered. I don't know for sure. Um, and then also what may be coming up as we continue forward. A couple of things about Alexis's case. First of all, I just need to say that this one hit me really hard because I made an instant connection when I saw her picture. She is from Oakley, California, which is in the East Bay, Northern California. I'm from Oakland, California, but I had spent a little time in Oakley. I lived in Northern California. I was born and raised there. So, and I'm also from the East Bay, born and raised there. So it was near and dear to me. And I think I made like just a strong connection to her case. So for me, it was like what was most important was that she would be found. I wanted her desperately to be found alive, but the readings were revealing that perhaps what had happened to her happened the night of when she had disappeared. And the man who has been named as the one who took her life, he ultimately took his life in June of 2022. So making it very difficult for searchers and her family to find her because he didn't, I mean, I guess authorities have found a map that he wrote out on where he was planning to take her. And it was just this whole elaborate thing that he did. And he took his life. So it made it that much more difficult to find her. It turns out that there was someone from Alaska who was visiting in Plymouth, California, with like one of those metal detectors. A lot of folks who come to Gold Country, they search for gold. They bring their metal detectors. My dad even has a metal detector. It's a thing. It's a hobby. It's what people do. I'm assuming that's what the person who reportedly found her remains was doing. And so it was an anonymous tip, which is just like, wow, like that's amazing, because I know that there was a very high dollar reward. And so her family and loved ones and searchers are still going to be searching for the remaining part of her remains in the coming days and weeks ahead. Hopefully they find them with ease, right? There's also been what came up in the readings was that the gentleman who had did this to her had assistance, and we talked about that in the readings. If you haven't had a chance to check out my readings, please do. The readings, they go into all of the details. And so I like to sometimes reflect back and look at what came up in the readings as we're going to do today. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I think I covered everything I wanted to mention right off the bat, but yeah, check out those videos because I will try. Let me see if I can get another browser going. Because what I would like to do is share with you all when I recorded the video so you can understand like these readings had come out before all of this kind of unfolded. So I'm just getting those up and ready. I didn't have that ready. My apologies. Let's see if it's up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, so let's see if I can get this up easily here. All right, I would have done this in a live, but right now I'm kind of busy. Lots of different things going on in my life. So I'm just going to do this as a video. And at some point when I'm feeling more comfortable about it, I'll do a live or do maybe another follow-up reading because this is not over per se. Yes, they have started to be able to recover Alexis. Thank you, God. Yes, the man who police feel strongly that took her life, he's deceased. But in terms of what the family is going through, in terms of trying to get charges brought up against people that may have been helping him, that is still going on. Now, I'm not necessarily here to do legal readings or whatnot, but it did, from what I recall in the readings that I did for Alexis's case, it did touch upon the fact that he did have help. So, like I have mentioned in my community tab posts, I would be willing if the family or loved ones wanted a private reading where they wanted to ask some questions about, you know, what's to come with that next leg of the journey, or um, that aspect of the case. I could do that, and I don't have to do that here on the channel. Okay, it could be private. So yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and as I like to do. We're going to first look at the cards. I'm going to take you through some maps and maybe even take you through Google. And then, yeah, so we'll do that. So, yeah, so we're here today to talk about Alexis Gabe. She's been found. Wow. So first we have the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. I like to do this as like getting like a feel of the energy surrounding what's going on. This, I believe, is a subsequent one. I think I did an earlier one, but I didn't take a still shot of that. So that's fine. But it was just so telling to me that what I was able to see here was that with the I card and the B card, I did get a strong sense that the answers would be revealed, and Alexis's beautiful hand is on what happened. And oh, that reminds me, there is something else I do want to share with you all about when I found out that she was found. Like a couple of days before they had announced that she had been found, feeling like this sense of unease about her case. I could sense that her friends were feeling a way about things. I could just sense that her loved ones were at the end of their rope. And I was like, God, something's got to give, right? And then the night of her being found, that was so, let me stop sharing for a moment. That was so amazing. I end up having this dream, and I don't always remember my dreams, but this one I remembered, and I woke up in the morning and typed it out. I like to type out my stuff. It's faster than me handwriting. I prefer to type if I can. Um, so I typed it out. And so I'll share with you what came up in that dream. And this is more so something for her family, specifically her mom. Okay. So I'll remember to share that. But yeah. So that's another reason why I need some space as well before I do a revisit reading on her case, if I do one at all publicly, because this case really touched close to home for me. And yeah, anyways, let me get back to sharing the screen. We won't stay too long there. So this is one of the earlier readings that I did that I was able to screenshot. Some of the things that came up that stand out in my mind, we have mental jail, lawyer, indigenous, devious, temperance, medium hair color, poor hygiene, or unkempt. And then if you look here, you will see that I use my divinatory dice in that reading. And it says definitely, I don't remember, I didn't rewatch the videos. on any of the cases that when I do a revisit, I don't always rewatch them, but it definitely is probably speaking to the fact that definitely answers will come, she'll be found. And then it says 1 to 3, and then a season. So 1 to 3 seasons. That could be 4 seasons if you say 1 plus 3 is 4, or it could say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, not just 1, 2, 3, but 1 TO3. So it could be that. And interestingly enough, that's what ended up happening, right? So we had the all of this transpired in the winter of so January 2022, which is midwinter, and then now we're in autumn of 2022. So that's about right. And then we got the tower. That spirit was like saying, this is when things went crazy, when things were upended, things would never be the same. And it happened in someone's house. The crime scene primarily was there at the house. Hired help. This is speaking to him perhaps having some help, allegedly. Then we go down here, we've got the Page of Pentacles, the Three of Wands. Again, I'm feeling some level of some assistance. And then the Mansion card came up. And I remember that, and I remember the House card here and the Mansion. So this was telling me that something happened in a home, in a nice looking home. And the guy who is accused of doing this to Alexis, he lived in a nice suburb, or I think it was a his stepdad's home in Antioch. And it was, it's not like a stately home, like a mansion, but it was a really nice home in a nice neighborhood. And so, if you live in California, you know that homes there are very expensive. So for us, that could be kind of stately, but what was interesting to me was that we got the bank card. Out of town kept coming up in his readings. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Bald. Bald was interesting. This card here that's sitting under the Mansion card, because I think he was kind of prematurely, the guy who's accused. His first name is Marshall. He's deceased now, so I can comfortably say his name. But Marshall, in my view, it looked like he was prematurely balding. Now I could be wrong, but to me, for his age, he had a receding hairline, but I could be wrong. The only reason why I pay attention to that is because my husband, he loves cutting hair. He's not an official barber, but he's always cutting hair. For when we lived in the States, people always were coming and paying him to cut their hair. Like, he's got really nice clippers. Out here, he gives haircuts to the locals, and so it's a thing. So because he pays attention to that kind of stuff, I pay attention to it. Anyways, now we move on to this little section here. We've got footprints, the land, human trafficking, lake, and grounding. Now, human trafficking can literally mean the act of taking someone, removing them, or they may even willingly go to be human trafficked, to have their person sold for a monetary value. Although for me, the card often comes up when it's just simply the moving of a human from one space to the other for your gain, for your benefit. That's for me when that card comes up, okay? And it was interesting to me that the cards kept telling me she's in a natural setting, or that this is not, it's not the suburbs that she's in, that this is somewhere natural. Now, there are many little rural pockets in Oakley and in Antioch area when you're driving through there. So at first, when I was doing these readings, I was thinking, well, maybe it's somewhere around there. Do you guys remember? And if you have watched her first video I did, first or second video, because I did 4. And I went on this quest of like trying to figure out what the clues were. And then Marshall's Landing. And then his first name is Marshall. It tripped me out. Let me see. Let me stop sharing for a moment. Let me see if I can find that video. There was one here. It was like the first row reading that I did for her. This is row and oracle reading. Sorry, guys. I wanted to be more prepared and I'm not. I'll share with you what I did on that. Okay. Let me share my busy screen so you guys can see this. So now we're looking at the video. Look at this ad just all up in here. So, oops. This would be episode 26 of my Mystery Mystic Monday. It was an updates reading. And then I spent like all Sunday leading up to the Monday when I published this video, just looking at the different maps because there was something that came up and I was like, Marsh. I can't remember which card. I need to watch this video to lead me to Marsh. But then I was like, okay. I started researching about the city of Antioch, which is next door to Oakley, is what I said, where Alexis resides and where her vehicle was found. Her ex boyfriend's home is in Antioch. When I did a map search of the distance between her boyfriend's residence and where Alexis's vehicle was found in Oakley, it was just a short 11-minute drive between the two locations. I Googled Antioch and found out its original name was Smith's Landing and Marsh's Landing. And so then I started talking about that quite a bit. But it was like Spirit was kind of even back then telling me, like that was published 8 months ago. Let me see if it'll tell me. Share with you guys when I recorded each of them. So that was like a clue because his first name is Marshall, the gentleman who is her ex-boyfriend. And I recorded the very first video of her case February 7th. And then the next update reading I did was February 28th. Then the next two, the Pioneer update, when we got wind of the police looking in Amador County, May 7th. And then May 9th, I premiered a more detailed reading. So 4 videos in total for Alexis's case. But I'm telling you these dates because those dates would precede when we were getting, as the public, the information. All right, now let's get back to it. I'm going to get back to sharing my screen. Oh, yeah. So Spirit was like trying to tell us that this is a natural setting, natural surroundings. I've actually been to Plymouth. I've actually passed through Plymouth, been to Plymouth. I think it's Lake Comanche it's like a reservoir there. I went camping there, and that's in Amador County. We would pass through there. So I'm semi-familiar with the area. Now we had desert, new perspective, and winter. Now, I just assume winter is speaking on, and I still kind of do that. This all happened in winter, but it was like the cold night of the soul kind of situation where you're waiting and waiting for things to break. Is also an interpretation for the winter card for me. The desert, this card here is he's going off on his own and doing this, and and in a natural setting, a single person, and new perspective. The new perspective was people were really searching high and low in the Oakley, Antioch area, but really and truly, this dude was off um, traveling up to Sacramento and then making a right and then traveling on to, Pioneer, and ultimately stopped before that to drop her off in Plymouth. And going back here, the crime scene was at the house. I'm assuming, I don't, know all the details of her case, but from what I'm gathering is what happened was she went over to his house, trying, just trying to keep the peace is the energy I picked up in the readings. She's just trying to keep the peace with this guy. And I sensed that he had been kind of planning and plotting this. Like it was one of those things, he's planning and plotting this, but he didn't know when he was actually going to do it. But he was planning and plotting it. It was unbeknownst to her. She's just trying to keep the peace, trying to make this as amicable as possible for the both of them. So something happened at the house. All right, now we move on to this next one, which I believe this is pertaining to that update that I did in May 7th. And it was just telling us that somebody's son did this. He's hiding. He did this. He traveled. This was all orchestrated. I don't have the questions available right now. I had them out earlier and I put them away. We've got the S word. He ultimately did take his life in the summertime. Queen of Cups represents the summertime for me. There would be information coming out about that. And that he was just drowning. He was just drowning in what he did. He thought, I'm sensing in my intuition, that he would have some level of feeling righteousness in doing this. This is what that temperance card was about. This was him balancing the situation and taking her life. Like she was, moving on with her life. And this was his way of trying to bring balance to that. And in the end, his emotions swallowed him, as we see with the submerged card. And he did ultimately take his life. The police, we have the father card. I believe that some of these cards were also speaking to him having some assistance. And I talk about that in those readings. If you want more details about that, please check out the May updates readings I did for Alexis's case. All of her readings that I've done, all four, will be linked in the description box, so you can be able to click on those with ease. But I did say that I do sense that he had help in movement, was help. Whether law enforcement chooses to continue to prosecute, from what I got from the press conference, it doesn't feel like they're going to do that. But that doesn't mean that there's no other recourse that Alexis's family can't take. Okay. And I'm no attorney and I'm not going to pretend to be one, but there's other recourses that they can choose to take. That Indigenous card came up in one of the first readings we did for her. And one of my dear subscribers mentioned that Indigenous could be someone that's near to her, native to her, near her surroundings. And I thought this was interesting. This was more clues about who he was. Mismatch in drive and ambition. I sensed that Alexis was like a shining star. She had the whole world before her and she was well loved. And she had a lot of drive and ambition. And I'm not saying he didn't. I don't know. And I don't know her like that. But when I was tapping into her energies, that's what I was picking up on. When I went ahead and tapped into his energies, I was picking up on the fact that he felt inadequate ultimately, and that he needed to force his will onto others. That's what he did. And then these last set of cards here, the Ace of Swords, the Vineyards, buried. I never can pronounce that correctly. It's buried, Buried. Out of town, that card came up again. Remember, that card was here and now it's here. And together. Now, either this means together, he took her there, out of town. Vineyards was interesting to me later on when they brought in the pioneer aspect of this case, because I am from Northern California. I had actually, when I was out there, I started drinking wines from different counties that were not Napa Valley. I mean, I have my favorites from Napa Valley, but I started branching into vineyards and wineries in Amador County and other counties that are in Northern California, some in my backyard. And so when I saw that card, that kind of spoke to me. It was like, huh, there's something here. When readers are like called to do these kind of readings, there's a reason for that. It's probably because for me, I'm from that area. And so there's certain little things I can pick up on that maybe a reader from, and I'm not saying a reader from the UK or from France can't pick up on that, but there's little nuances that I could pick up on. So when I saw the Vineyards card, when Spirit had that card jump, that was like a clue, like to me, a nod, like, no, she's here. I remember when there was a big question mark on whether or not like Marshall was making up the whole directions. They have found his like handwritten directions because he had the foresight and the forethought to handwrite his directions on a piece of paper so he couldn't use his phone, so he could turn his phone off because he knew that cops would be able to track his whereabouts with his phone. So he wrote out the directions from Antioch to Pioneer. And so people at first were thinking it was like a ruse. Like a couple of my subscribers were even asking, can I do a reading? Like, is this a ruse? My intuition all along was like, no, she's an Amador. She's an Amador. I feel it. She's an Amador. And so when I got that card, that spoke to me. And then the buried card, I don't know in what way that was she like just on top of the dirt, or was she somewhat buried when law enforcement found her a few days ago? Not sure, but it was just, again, just more clues. Finally, we have here some cards. July. Now, the shootout with the police, he did die by method, was it S word by cop, where he lunged at the police coming out of an apartment building, lunged at the police with a knife, and then they killed him. And that was another thing that was just a blow to the whole thing, because it was like, that felt like that was the last opportunity to be able to find her. But then again, I was sensing, I just felt like he would not tell. Like he had a whole opportunity before he did that to tell law enforcement what happened to her, and he didn't. But July is when we found out that in May, his mother had been arrested and then released because there was some circumstantial evidence that linked her to potentially helping him. Okay. But all that happened in May, but we didn't know that as the public. It later came out in July. Not quite, I still don't know what the Southeast car was speaking to, but we got taxi, public transport. That card always, it either for me speaks to like Uber, or it speaks to someone moving, like driving with someone. And that S word came up again. And this was before so I published this reading, I think it was Saturday, May 7th, or Saturday, May 7th, or maybe May 9th, a month later in June, known to the victim. So again, the public wasn't giving all the information about this was him, but like I knew early on when I did the readings back in February that this was someone that was known to her, And there was, a hint that she may have started dating someone new or what have you. I didn't sense that it was that person. I sensed it was somebody from her past that was known to her. Um, we have the physical abuse, domestic violence card here. This is speaking to maybe something that she had been dealing with in October, like 2021, not quite sure what was going on. Crime of passion and rage. Certainly that's what, to me, what the motive is. A lot of people were asking me to do readings about what the motive. That's it. For me, it was a crime of passion and it was premeditated. He did start to formulate this sick thing in his mind well before they had this encounter. And it was crime of passion. It was like one of those things of, if I can't have you, no one can have you. To me, that's a motive. Now, some people are like, that's not enough motive. To me, that is. Um, Hours was speaking to, it was within hours that she went over there to visit with him that he took her life. I think that there is some indication that maybe he may have shot her. I think they said there were shell casings. I'm not sure, but I do sense that either this suffocation card is speaking to him trying to take her voice away or literally trying to squeeze her and scare her. And this may have been a form of the type of abuse that he showed her. That's what I'm picking up on. But in terms of how he took her life, I'm going to not go there. We just won't go there. But ultimately, this update, I'm going to say it like this. From what I got from the press conference yesterday on Monday, I got a sense that police were thinking that maybe he spread it around. I'm hoping that that's not the case, that maybe he just kept her intact. But the impression I got from law enforcement yesterday was that's not the case, but that maybe animals, moved her, moved her around. Van is again talking about her being transported to this rural area. We got the mountains, country, wilderness, greens, and lush. In a moment, I'm going to take you guys on a little ride and show you what that area looks like. He did travel to Washington, where he lost his life. He traveled to Washington State, which is, in California. There's Oregon, and then Washington. I think he has family and friends there, and that's ultimately where he passed away. So 500 to 1,000 kilometers, I believe, is roughly about that distance. I could be wrong. Um, could be wrong. I don't know the conversion of 500 to 1,000 kilometers, but that sounds about right. It just tells me that he traveled a long distance. Now, what's interesting to me is the church, religion, faith, and spiritual cards and the years card. I kept feeling like a sense that she would be found near a church, and I couldn't shake that. I just couldn't shake it. And I'm gonna show you guys something in a moment. I could be totally wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong. It's okay. Kim doesn't mind being wrong about things. The years card also, at first I thought, oh, this is speaking to his years card here. That's speaking to her and dating for a few years. I don't know that all of this led up from years past, but I'm wondering if this is years in the making in terms of how long her family is willing to fight for justice against his family. Yeah. Because in the reading that I talked about before, with this Nine of Wands, Six of Swords, churning seas, garden, vehicle, and search, I did sense that he did have assistance. Got the daughter card, strength, the chariot, glasses. Like, I just got a sense that he had some assistance. And even in this spread, the page of coins, Three of Wands. There was a reading I did, but I don't think I took still shots. It's one of the first readings I did where it was like somebody's always rescuing him. He always had to be rescued. And then this bank card affirmed for me that some level, some way, because I believe his mother ended up buying a cell phone for him when his phone was confiscated by police to have a forensic download of looking through all of his, stuff in his phone. So she got him a phone. Now, of course, innocently enough, he could say, well, I didn't do it and I need a phone for work. And so she's like, okay, I'll take you to get a phone. Or it could be something else. I don't know. All right. So sorry for this bad screenshot, but I wanted to show you all something. This was from the press conference on Monday. And if you look carefully, and again, I apologize, it's really fuzzy. It was hard for me to get a good screenshot of this. And he actually rode up to the Sacramento area. This part I'm familiar with. I'm from Sacramento, or I lived in Sacramento from like 1996 to 2020. I guess, yeah, 2020. We'll just say 2020. So I'm familiar. So then he comes up here, he makes a right turn onto Jackson Highway or Highway 16. And then if you look carefully here, I should have circled it. There's a little heart, I believe, and it says remains located. And you see this little shaded area. That's going to be important in a moment for what I show you on where her remains were found. Then he made a right turn on Highway 49. I've done that a few times traveling to go camping, to go to Gold Country, to go, we rent cabins all the time, my family and I, each year to just get away. As in our extended family, we all go and rent a really nice cabin. So I'm familiar with the area. So, anyways, and then he picks up over here and tries, I guess this is where his map was, where he was aiming to go, was the Pioneer area. But where he ultimately dropped her off was here. And you see this little this darker shade of green. Here's the green here. This is Amador County. This little brownish, light pale manila color here. Now, remember that shaded area. I'll take you back here. They said remains are found here at this little peak. See this little area here, that little peak, right before you get to this darker shade of green. So I was like, what is there? What's there? There, because let me stop sharing for a moment. Law enforcement said that he ended up pulling off of Highway 16, or as we know it in Sacramento, as Jackson Highway, because like it takes you to like this casino that people love to go to. So we just be like Jackson Highway. Anyways, there's not many turnoffs there, or not many places you could just pull off. And so he pulled off somewhere. And so I looked at the maps to try to pinpoint, well, what is there? What turnoff? Let's go back. Before I do that, let me do this. I'm going to take you guys on a little ride, Google, because I think that's going to illustrate it a bit better for a moment. Then we'll switch back to my little slideshow. Okay, so we are now looking at Marshall's view of what the direction he's coming from. Once he made a right turn to go on Jackson Highway, Highway 16, right? California 16. So he's just traveling along here. Look at this area. There's trees. So I'm just giving you a feel of what we're talking about here. Turnoffs. I was like, well, where's a turnoff? And that's how it be. And I don't know about other parts of the United States, but in California, you could drive forever and you'd be like, I gotta go use the bathroom, or I need to do something, gotta pull over. Where's a turn off? Where is a turn off? Or something or another. Oh, blocked, right? Blocked, blocked. We're going to stop traveling for a moment. Show you on a map. Oh, I wasn't expecting this to be so long. I never do. Sorry, you guys. I'm like, it probably may have been just shorter just to show you on a live stream, but okay, so let me go back. Set this little point here, right before you get to this dark shaded area. All right, here. Let me show you something. There's a turnoff here. And if I'm going to show you in a moment on Google Maps, like there's really no other turnoffs when you're going this direction. I don't know if it was eastbound, northbound. No, I don't know my directions. But the direction that he was traveling on, I traveled for a while, street view, trying to see where's a turnoff in this area. There is one at Moriah Heights Seventh day Adventist Reform Movement Church. And you'll see the little turnoff here. This is his view. This is Marshall's view. Here's the turnoff that actually has a little clearing, a little way. In the press conference, they said that he traveled on a paved road onto another paved road. I'm sharing for a moment, and I'm going to pull up this church area. Church, where's my map? Show you all. They didn't mention Ione Road. I know Ione. Let me share with you all. And stuff. Like this is a major little area here. Road, doubtful. Yep, blocked off. So it's not there. If you all didn't know, I used to work for an insurance company. I used to work in insurance for about 20 years, investigating complex auto accidents and trying to prove who may have been responsible. And this is what I would do all day is look at maps, look at different perspectives, read statements. Like that was what I do. So this is actually joy for me. So sometimes I'll just pull out cards and be shuffling and just saying, do I get an intuitive hit here? What does the card say as I'm looking at these areas? And sometimes I'm just like, what makes logical sense? Ione is not going to be an area. Ione is actually a town. I had a friend who lived in Ione, moved to a veteran cop. You can see this is kind of a major road. Uh, Now, here's the Moriah Heights Seventh day Adventist Reform. Turn off. Back here. And this is the screenshot I took for you all. So down through there, where he could have kept going. I don't know what he did. And honestly, this is all speculation, by the way. I could be totally wrong, but this is what made sense to me based on the map review. Church Road, the road to the church. There's like a sign here. I think it's coming up. Welcome. It's like a Christian school sign. There's like a little area here, clearing trees. And from like when I did a Google search of this area, this is the only one that makes logical sense. I have to say that. We keep going. Let's see. I'll keep going, but you get the idea, right? Here's the church. Let me see if I can drop. But let's do something. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I want to go here. Working today, but I just had to do this because, and it's kind of wraps up this chapter for me, at least as the reader on this case. Pray that the family is able to, whatever they need to do to get closure and justice, I pray that they get it. That's not what I will say here. Um, they have fought a very hard fight to keep their daughter's name out there, to keep searching for her and keep searching. And that's so admirable, but I know how tiring and exhausting that is for her, not just her family, but her loved ones, her friends, the community out there. It's really hard to keep that going. They've been doing that since late January, and we're now in November. I'm recording this November 8th. It's voting day, right? Today. I think. So back here we have the church card. And that's to me signifying that that's near the spot. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna show you something. Of course, I'm gonna show you something. You know me. You know me. I'm gonna show you something. Um, you pan out. I'm not seeing I from. This seems like the area where it could be. That goes past the curve of what law enforcement said where her remains were. But we'll just look just for shits and giggles. Her dead end area. And that doesn't jive with, let me stop sharing. That doesn't jive with what they said in terms of where, see this area, hopefully, the heart remains located. It's not down here, it's not here, this is here. And then you see here, it's here, and that's where that church is. And that's where a turnoff is. This one hit hard. It was really difficult and heartbreaking levels because you could tell that Alexis was a beautiful soul. She was loved and she had just such a beautiful, bright future. And I could just tell she was so much fun and artistic and creative and just had so much drive and just desire for, giving to others, being a light for others. And to have it snuffed out the way it was is just heartbreaking. And She did what she could do to try to escape that situation, is what I sensed in the readings. And even with that, he still had to hold on. He wasn't well. He wasn't well in the head and well in the heart. So I'm just going to leave it there. Thoughts, you guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. Her family is still fighting for justice, fighting for more information and insights. Um, Sharing and letting it be known about Alexis's case is so important, not just for her, but for others who may find themselves in similar situations. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. I will be making more content like this. And when I do revisits, this is what I do. I do updates readings from time to time when I'm intuitively called or when people request, and I'm intuitively called to do that updates reading. So I hear what my subscribers are saying. They submit recommendations for cases to cover. Cold cases hardly ever get the same attention as brand new cases, but I do ask that you check them out because those cases deserve as much attention as the new ones. And yeah, I this is my passion. This is what I do, and I'm going to keep doing it. Do I have to take breaks from time to time? Yes, and I'm probably going to not take necessarily a break. I'm going to cover like a cold case, and I'm going to do a few like updates readings. A couple of my subscribers have asked me to do that. A loved one for a case I covered in the past has asked me to do one. So I'll be putting up a couple of videos on Mystery Mystic Mondays that are like updates or revisits. And I'll be covering a brand new cold case. And I do plan to take a little time off between like going hard. Sometimes you guys are probably like, dang, she's doing these like every other day. And then I drop off because I have to get a little break for myself. I get emotionally attached to these people. I do. I dream about them. That reminds me before I let you guys go. That actually reminds me. I'm glad I said about the dreams because I need to share this. This is very important. I share this with you all. Typed it out. I'm proud of myself. I type about almost 100 words per minute. So it's easier for me to type things out than to handwrite them. Little fun fact about your girl. Um, so the night after they said her remains were found, I ended up having this dream. So I'm just going to read it to y'all. I'll share the screen here. I'm going to read it because it's easier for me to do that. And that's what we're going to close on today. November 5th, 2022. Last night, I fell asleep late after hearing about the discovery of Alexis's remains in Plymouth. As I drifted off to sleep, I became so cold. Mind you, I live in the Caribbean and I am rarely ever that cold. The wind picked up really high and the door to the bedroom began to slam at least four very loud times. I mean, loud. At that moment, I thought of Alexis. I then fell back asleep. This time, I dreamt I had made my way back to California and drove to Oakley from Sacramento. I met up with Alexis's mom, Ravina. We were in some sort of medical office. We began to hug and we both cried. And I mean, cried in the dream. Like, I'm like crying, holding each other for what seemed like forever. I kissed Ravina's cheek. I woke up and realized it was Alexis who was making me so cold, driving up the wind to slam the doors. And let me tell you, that also usually never happens either. Alert me to my dream I was about to have, because I'm one of those people who, as soon as I wake up, I forget the dream. And I forget the dream as I'm dreaming it. Sometimes it feels like the dream felt so real. And it told me that, yes, it was my body that was in Oakley, but it was Alexis holding, hugging, and giving a kiss to her mom. This gave me peace. And as I began to stir from the dream, my body began to warm up again. I usually don't remember these dreamy moments in detail, yet I can just see and feel it all. I think she guided us all to Plymouth. She needed to be found now, as there had started to become disagreements between her best friends and her father. I recall one of the readings I did for her spoke of how she was going to reveal what happened because Alexis was the type of woman who loved her family and friends so much. She knew they wouldn't have peace if she was never found. I am so thankful for Alexis coming to me in those dreams last night. Now we wrap up for real. Sending Alexis's loved ones all of my love, my sincerest condolences. Yes, I'm in the Caribbean, but my heart is always in Northern California. And when something like this happens to one of our beautiful daughters, it hits me hard, just like it hits our community there hard. So, got your back. If ever any of you need to reach out to me privately, you can do so. I won't share it here on the channel. That invitation is open to you all. All right, my dears, that's it for now. Take good care of yourselves, please. Leave a comment, and I'll talk to you all later.